Hey, thanks for coming by. This is Chad. Just going to show a little hyperlapse video of how I mow my yard on a regular basis. Most weeks I mow on Saturday night after work. That kind of finishes off the whole work week and lets me focus on whatever else I need to do for Sunday and Monday. There's a very mean dog on the other side of this fence, so had to put up a pallet to keep him from busting his head through. I try to start out getting the edges in the backyard that take a little more finessing, and my overall plan when I mow is to start from one area of my shed closest to the house, and then I kind of get a section done at a time and gradually work my way around to the front yard and then work my way back to finish off the last section of the backyard. And I found that gives me the best overall time for getting complete. When I used to do this with a regular sized walk behind, like 21-inch mower, usually it would take about 2 to 2.5 hours depending on how hot it was and how slow I had to walk. Now with this double blade walk behind Cub Cadet, I'm averaging about an hour and 15 minutes, sometimes an hour and 20 if it's a little thicker and I have to mow a little bit slower. And being down in Oklahoma, one of the biggest headaches that we have to deal with is the crabgrass, actually. And then Bermuda not liking to grow in the shade. So I've been working on that the last few years, trying to get the final unpleasant areas grown up. I tried a couple sections of a fescue this year, came up really well, but as soon as the sun changed position and I started to have more direct sunlight on it, it just wiped it out. So gonna have to try another plan next year. Maybe later in the summer we'll try to grow some more Bermuda, as after we get through the 110-degree days in July and August. But I may just wait till early next year and plan on trying a pre-emergent. So this is getting over to the front yard of my house. I have both of these yards that I actually mow, and like I say, my first pass is getting my edges, making sure I've got a turning area at the end of each. And in a moment when I go up the side of this house, you'll be able to probably see where that fescue grass is starting to die out. So kind of disappointed there, but first attempt to try fescue, and there you can almost see just a perfect line, and that's where the sun has been shining on it very consistently. And when it's first sprouted, it was completely in the shade, so that helped it grow really good at the beginning, and now it's working against it. So now I got all the turning edges done. I believe this day we were about 105, and I of course did this about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so you know, not the best plan, but I have a racing, like a motocross racing cool vest that I soak in water, put that on, and I'm actually able to get through this without being too miserable. This I had to do on a Sunday afternoon. Had some family stuff to do Saturday night, so I had to delay the mowing by one extra day, and you can see how much grass actually grows. So now I got the whole front yard done. I'm pulling my hose out, so as I get one section done, I go ahead and start the sprinkler in that section, move on to the next one. Usually by the time I have finished the whole rest of the yard, that first sprinkler is ready to move on to the second position, and then I pull out the other two that I usually use and get those going. When I first got this place in 2016, this yard did not look anywhere near like it does right now. It was very sparse, full of weeds, and I have actually managed to get it looking fairly decent. The church across the street, they built a carport, you can see back in the background there. They built that last year, and I noticed it has been putting a lot of shade down on my yard by the road, so stunted the growth for a couple extra weeks. This section up here right by the house used to be all crabgrass or just bare ground, and got a little more crabgrass than I wanted this year, but I've got some actual grass growing now, so over the next year or two that should fill out nicely and make that front yard look pretty nice. This mower is actually very heavy, and it is a pretty arm intensive workout, so I like to try to give myself about 3 passes on each end just to have enough space to whip it around nicely. This part right here was bare dirt for the first 2 years after I bought this house. So starting right here to there was bare dirt about probably 2 pickup trucks wide and about probably 3 or 4 pickup trucks long. The people that had the house before me, they used to just park their vehicles right there in that part of the yard. So my first project was getting Bermuda seeds to sprout and take root there, and the grass is growing good. Every year I get a little more knocked down with the weeds, and this has been the best year so far. So it seems like every year the Bermuda will come in a little bit thicker and help crowd out a lot of the weeds that you just don't really want in your yard. And then I spend a lot of time hand picking them out so they don't get spread around. And I really started doing this in bought the place in 2016, started really working on it in 2017 spring and summer, and now in 2020 it's one of the best yards in blocks around me. I'm quite pleased with how it's all turned out. I usually have the best green shade of a yard. You can see some of the neighbor yards when I get to the ends, and it's definitely the thickest yard. It crowds out the most weeds. Of course, I spend more time working on it than most every other neighbor anywhere around me, but overall I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. This, I had a few extra days growing, well, 1 extra day, but it did make a few more clumps than I like, so I just went a couple quick passes so I can mulch those in and not have a bunch of loose grass sitting in the yard. And like I said, I'm, gradually making my way back to the first backyard where I will eventually finish the job. Now everything on the other side of that fence gate is done, so I don't have to go back there anymore. I think I had to take a drink right there. Use this little trick to keep the water hose from laying on the grass and keeping it from growing. I'm going to have to do a little bit of tweaking with that just to get it so I can mow up closer. Those hooks hang out too far and block me from getting all the way up next to the house, but more little tweaks to do as I go along. So that's another section of fescue right there. That one's done a little bit better, but you can see it's starting to die off on that more outside right up next to the chain link. And I believe it's the same situation just because the sun's moving position and it's spending more time in direct, constant sunlight now. And I missed a little bit of trash when I made my walk around to get ready to mow. Already gone back and picked that up. So you can get a pretty good idea from this backyard mowing section how much my grass actually grows in a 1 week period. So it's, been liking these temperatures, and like I said, I water, and I've already fertilized twice this year. Another week and a half, 2 weeks, I'll probably be getting another summer fertilizer on, and I'm in here doing this voiceover in between moving sprinklers, and I'll be going out moving them to their last position for the evening. See all those little bitty flies and gnats that were trying to get away from the heat hiding in my yard. One of the downsides of Oklahoma, you've got weeds and you've got bugs, and there's no way to completely get away from all of either one of those. So now that backyard is done, and that right there is going to finish off all of the outside the fence. And now gate is closed and locked. Now we're getting the last pass for my turning lanes. And that corner back there has been just difficult to get anything to grow. It's shaded a lot from the neighbor's trees, and getting a fescue to grow has been tricky, and Bermuda just doesn't want to come up strong enough to start running out and filling in. But that's the next big problem spot. I got all the front looking good, so now we're going to be moving on to the back over the next few years. So these last few minutes took me about an hour and 20 minutes to do all of this, and we got to just watch me run through it in just over 15 minutes with a nice little GoPro hyperlapse here. So hey, thanks for spending a few minutes watching what I do here. If you got any questions about how I've done the work to get this yard looking what I consider to be fairly good, especially for this area that we're in Southwest Oklahoma, drop a comment, let me know, and I'll see if I can't make a video and show you what we do. So now we're in the shed, going up. You'll get to see my tape trick, and we're done. Thank you. Bye.